Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting episode of I have
Maggie just set her tail on fire.
Yeah, Maggie set her tail on fire. If we had smell-o-vision, you could smell it. You could still smell
It's nasty smell.
I think she got it pretty good.
She scorched it.
No. So,
She did it herself. Don't blame us, man.
and she's in one of her boxes. They have 3 boxes now, and she's sitting in one of them.
She's mad at us.
Now, our daughter asked once to make a video to tell her what it was like in the 60s. Well, I was on Okinawa from 1966 to 1972. In 1967, my dad took me over to the east side of the island. Now, the east side of the island back in those days
was bad.
No, it was it was relatively unpopulated.
It wasn't like it was a huge place.
No. I mean, you have to understand, the widest point on Okinawa is 5 miles, the narrowest is 1 mile. The length exactly is 61 miles. So it's not big. And they've actually extended the land in many places into the ocean by putting fill in there.
Yeah, I'm sure that's great land.
Yeah. Well, I think they build like buildings, factories.
Not very good quality land.
Yeah, I don't think you could farm it or anything. Well, anyway, there was this naval base, and I don't remember the name of it. It was on the eastern side of the island, which was, like I said, relatively unpopulated back then. Everything was on the western side of the island. All the villages, the towns, the cities. Not like we had more than 1 or 2 cities. I think we had 2 cities. The roads, the factories, the warehouses.
Wasn't that much too?
Yeah, the ports for the ships, you know.
God, now we gotta get rid of that smell.
Everything was over on the western, because the western side was relatively protected because it was on the China Sea, and the Pacific Ocean open to the entire Pacific Ocean. There was no protection from storms coming through there, and if you've never been through a typhoon, then
not fun.
No, and they're a lot bigger than a hurricane is, so they last a lot longer. And I don't.
Bad, huh?
Yeah, and oh, the whistle. You never forget that whistle.
Oh, the whistle.
Yeah.
What, of the wind?
Yeah. And it's going through the trees and the houses and.
Oh man.
Yeah. Anyway, so my father took me to this naval base over on the east side of the island. They had a variety of, military ships there. Now, a submarine is large enough to be considered a ship, but they're not referred to as that. They're referred to as boats. And
they're not boats.
That's what they call them, though. They call submarines boats instead of ships.
Oh, God.
Now, my father was Canadian Merchant Navy during World War II. My grandfather was Merchant Navy. In the United States, you call it Merchant Marine. During World War II, my grandfather was Canadian Navy. He was first engineer. My Uncle Alf, he was a longshoreman, So that side of my family, my mother's side of the family, they're all agriculture, all farmers and teachers. My father's side of the family, they're all longshoremen or merchant marines. So I have this thing coming from my dad's side of the family. If somebody calls a ship a boat, it really ticks me off. And many times I will correct them. I actually, my boss once, we were buying a present for the child of one of our patients when I was working in hospice.
You take my boat.
And he said, "Oh, look, this pretty paper. It has a boat on it." I said, "Excuse me, that's a ship." But anyway, so to me, a ship's a ship, a boat's a boat. And the only reason I call a submarine a boat is because, for some reason, that's what they're referred to, even though I think they should be called ships, because they're large enough to be called a ship. But anyway, so my father took me to this naval base. And they had ships, submarines, boats, and everything over there, right? And they had this submarine, and I got away from my dad. And, he was talking to somebody. And there was this submarine, and I climbed on it.
Oh, man.
I climbed down inside of it, and I closed the hatch, and I don't think I got it real tight because when I submerged, there was some water coming in.
Yeah, right.
Not pouring in, but, it was leaking. And I actually got the sub out there in the Pacific like 3 miles before I get, because I didn't know what I was doing, and
I
it
doubt
went to the bottom, and it took like 2 or 3 weeks for them to rescue me. Thankfully, there was plenty of food and oxygen and water on board, but my father was barred from ever taking me onto another naval facility or naval base ever again.
Plenty of
But
BS.
it was an experience, and that's what I did in 1967.